Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up, we're going to talk about the best DVC resorts to visit during the fall on this week's episode of the DVC Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined this week by my good friends from the DVC store, Mr. Jerry Saito.
Hello, everybody.
And, of course, Mr. Paul Krieger.
Hey, everyone.
And he doesn't say enough for Skype to switch over to his shot, so he's just like this faceless voice on the internet. And back in the Nook, the Nook that will be going away soon. This is probably the last round of shows where there's going to be a Nook. Yeah. Mr. Corey Fiasconaro, our producer this week.
Welcome home.
So welcome, folks. Hope your week is off to a good start, considering this is a Monday at 6 to 5 in Pick'em, how the rest of your week is going to go, but hopefully it's at least off to a good start. As usual, before we get into our discussion for today, just a reminder to everyone, if you are in the market for a DVC resale contract, please reach out to our friends, show your support for our show and our content by reaching out to our friends over at dvcstore.com, or you can give them a call, 1-800-550-6493. You can ask for Jerry, and Jerry really loves it when you spend hours on the phone asking him questions.
I did have a 3-hour conversation with a client, which is, I think, a record, actually. So it was 3 hours and 9 minutes, which that's a long time. That's a long time.
And, all kidding aside, you're happy to do it when you have to,
Oh, it was great. Yeah, absolutely. No problem at all. I wanted to answer every question. And at the end, I think we created a friendship. So, yeah, absolutely. No problem at all.
They're going to be braiding each other's hair and having sleepovers and painting each other's nails. So, yeah, if you're in the market for a resale contract, please show your support. Reach out to them, dvcstore.com, or call them 1-800-550-6493. They can also help you with selling your contract, renting out your points, or renting points if you're looking to try before you buy. So they're a one-stop shop. Head over there and let those folks help you out. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about a poll that Paul put up on DVC Fan, asking the question, which DVC resort is best for the fall season? So before we get to the results of that poll, I know what I thought initially as soon as I heard the... everybody's texting me. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's picking up.
No, not bad at all.
Okay. So yes, this table does seem to absorb sound.
Way better than the other one.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Let's go around and ask the question. Jerry, what do you think the best DVC resort is to visit during the fall season?
So the fall season, I would have to go with probably Bay Lake Tower, which surprisingly is not really on the radar for me in other parts of the year. But in terms of, I love the Magic Kingdom during the fall. Like the way they decorate the Magic Kingdom to me is it is the fall. Like it's got the pumpkins and the colors and it's just that autumn feel. And I just love it. So being close to the Magic Kingdom is ideal. I mean, Poly would be fine, Grand Floridian would be fine, but walking access into Magic Kingdom from Bay Lake Tower to me is the win. And so I'd go with Bay Lake Tower.
Paul, what about you?
I'll be sleeping on the couch in Jerry's room in Bay Lake Tower, or really anywhere along the monorail loop right there. I have a vivid memory from several years ago when we went to a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and it was 1 a.m., and I had to get on a Disney bus to go back to my room. I think we were at Coronado at the time or something like that. But that in my head is stuck because that was the last thing that I ever wanted to do at 1 a.m., completely tired, waiting in line for a Disney bus. So being able to actually be right there, be able to walk, take a boat or something like that to any of those resorts. And also, you've got to throw in the mix that if you have a theme park view of Magic Kingdom, you're also going to be able to see those perimeter fireworks when Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party comes back. you would be able to actually maybe just relax in your room for an evening and enjoy those fireworks. So that's what I chalk up as my favorite. I will throw an honorable mention out for Hilton Head. I don't know if the leaves change at Hilton Head or something like that, but I think it would just be very relaxing in the fall season to take a walk down the beach at Hilton Head Resort. So that came to mind as well.
All right, Fiasco, what about you?
So it's funny that they both mentioned Bay Lake Tower, because when I was going to vote for this poll, it was between two things. And the first thing I thought of was Bay Lake Tower because of, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and the special fireworks that go along with it. But thinking more in the perspective of right now, we don't have that. So to me, without the Halloween party, that kind of goes out the window a little bit as far as the rooms itself at Bay Lake Tower and the resort doesn't put me in the fall spirit like Copper Creek does. So my vote did actually go to Copper Creek because that when I think of fall, and I'm sure a lot of other people think of this too, but I kind of go back to the Northeast. I kind of think of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, probably because that's where I spent fall throughout my whole life. But it's a very fall-y place. I mean, I could even argue it is a fall place. We have Salem, Massachusetts. I mean, Salem is the Halloween town. That is the Halloween spot. So Copper Creek makes me feel back home in that way. So that took my vote.
So you go to Copper Creek and you think burning witches.
Well, no, not necessarily, but the vibes.
I understand.
Yeah,
no, I'm just busting your chops. You see, now for me, it's there's only one choice for me in this list of resorts, and that is Wilderness Lodge in general, because I think that just evokes all the feels, right, when I think about fall. And when I add on to that the fact that I think the resort is beautiful in and of itself, it has, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on the name of the restaurant that's out by the pool?
Geyser Point.
Geyser Point. And the quality of the service of the cast members has been a big narrative for me with the reviews that we were doing last year. And all of that combined, all of that for me but now obviously there's two DVC locations at Wilderness Lodge. There's Copper Creek and there's Boulder Ridge. And for me, and I own it both, Boulder Ridge wins for me. Because while the lodge itself certainly has, evokes that fall feeling, Boulder Ridge just takes that to a whole nother level. That building out by itself in the woods pretty much, the atmosphere of that, the intimate atmosphere of that lobby, just the whole look and feel of it for me, Boulder Ridge is like the quintessential fall DVC resort. But let's take a look at where people fell with the results. We had a total of 721 responses to this poll, where we just asked the question, where would you stay for a fall DVC getaway? The two with the least amount of votes, as always, is Vero Beach with 1.4% of the vote, and Hilton Head Island with 2.1%. So few more people agree with Paul, and I didn't think it's just because people haven't experienced them, right? But I thought the Grand Californian might come up a little higher, but that was next at 2.6%, so not a lot there. Old Key West came in at 3.3% of the vote. Only slightly above that, Saratoga Springs at 3.5%. Grand Floridian, 3.9%. Polynesian, 3.9%. Bay Lake Tower, 4.7%. So that's where Jerry falls in there. Aulani at 4.7%. So think about that. Bay Lake Tower and Aulani tied.
Yeah.
And I love Olani. Don't get me wrong. I love Olani, but it's not what pops to mind when I think of the fall. And again, you know what? That may very well be. That may very well be. You know, I grew up in the Northeast, just like Fiasco did. So you know, there's a certain aesthetic to fall in the Northeast that I think Wilderness Lodge in general kind of encapsulates. But Animal Kingdom Lodge, 5.5%. Riviera.
That surprised me.
That surprises me. 6.5% for Riviera, which puts it at 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5 on the list. And we're in the top 5 here. Boulder Ridge comes in next at 7.5. Beach Club comes in at 10.4. Boardwalk Villas comes in second at 15.3. But by and large, a quarter of the people who took this said Copper Creek, 24.7%. That doesn't surprise me. I think Boardwalk and Beach Club do a little bit because I love them and I own contracts at both. But again, I mean, maybe, you know, proximity to Epcot fall also for us means Food and Wine Festival. So proximity to Epcot probably plays a big role in that. But what do you think of those results, Paul? You were the one who put this poll up. When you looked at these results, did anything stand out to you?
I was a little bit surprised that Boardwalk and Beach Club didn't edge it out. You know, you talked to, and a lot of the responses we got in the comments and things like that, people mentioned Food and Wine, and so I expected maybe that to push those over top of Copper Creek. But on the whole, I'm not surprised. You know, I live basically in the Northeast. There's fall trees out my window here. So I think I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when I move to Florida, Copper Creek may bump up the list a little bit more for me. But I understand why that invokes that fall feel. It does for me as well. It's just, I think because I live here, that's not what I feel as Disney fall.
All right. And Jerry, what about you? When I go through that list, did anything strike you as odd or interesting or surprising?
Well, I mean, in terms of Boulder Ridge and then Copper Creek, they should be 1 and 2 because it's essentially the same resort. So I found it interesting that it was number 4 versus 1 and 2. I do totally get Boardwalk Beach Club being on there as, you know, top contenders because of the Food and Wine Festival. A little bit surprised, though, again, my perspective on Magic Kingdom being so well decorated for the fall and the Not So Scary Halloween parties right there. It's for it to be number 8 on the list. But, you know, I think the list is pretty accurate in terms of, I mean, Copper Creek, it's one of the best resorts for the fall season. I mean, Boulder Ridge as well. And the Christmas season, the way they decorate, the feeling you get, I mean, it does kind of kick off that season sort of feel. At least for me, I live in Florida. So whenever I go to the Wilderness Lodge, I instantly think Pacific Northwest, nice cool weather. You know, it just puts me in that mindset. But for convenience, again, I like the being able to walk and get to the Magic Kingdom for that not so scary or whatever. But I think the list, it's good. I mean, I think it's pretty accurate. I did find it interesting on Riviera, though. Riviera was it open last fall? Like, do people have experience with staying there in the fall? So for it to be in
they don't.
Top 5, it's kind of interesting that it made the top 5 if nobody's actually been there in the fall.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of that has to do with, you know, I can see, and I think, I don't know if this is only because, like, when I go to Europe, when I've been in France in particular, or Italy for that matter, it's almost always been in September, October. That's when I go. That's when I think the weather in Europe is phenomenal, September and October. So I tend to want to go to Europe in those months. So I can make the connection between, you know, Riviera, France, and the fall, but not the way I do with Boulder Ridge or Copper Creek. You know, so, but, you know, again, on the Skyliner, quick, easy access to Epcot for Food and Wine. So when you think that really 3 of these resorts are, either walking distance or on the Skyliner going over to Epcot, that's probably a part of it. And, you know, the people who bought Riviera who want to, you know, who, and I think, because I think Riviera owners in particular right now feel under attack because of the attitudes about the resale restrictions. And somebody accused me of that recently, and I just want to be very clear. I don't think anyone is wrong for buying Riviera at all. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. It is a beautiful resort, incredibly well done. It is a first-rate DVC property, absolutely no question. I do not think people, I want to be really clear here, I do not think people that have chosen to buy at Riviera are stupid, made a mistake, didn't know what they were doing. I think you took in the information, you understood the resale restrictions, and you made the decision that made sense to you. And it's a good decision. It's a good decision. It just isn't mine, right? The resale restrictions matter to me. That doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong or vice versa. It just means we have a difference of opinion on that, and you chose to put your money there. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out, because I read that recently, and somebody saying that I'm always beating up on Riviera owners. I'm like, okay, first, you probably need to up your meds, but B, no, I'm not. I'm not at all beating up on Riviera owners. I think it is, and I'm going to tell you now, I was just over at Riviera to meet up with somebody last week, and I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I'm not kidding. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. So I do get it. Right now, though, like those resale restrictions, that's just a deal breaker for me. But I don't judge anybody who bought at Riviera. So, but I think that's why Riviera's on this list, is that it does have, more so than its theming, evoking fall, its access to Epcot for the Food and Wine Festival. And, Riviera, too, was a resort that was almost custom built for the DVC audience, I think, in a lot of ways. I think they took a lot of that into account when they built this. So there you have it, your top 5 for the fall. Disney's Riviera Resort, Boulder Ridge, Beach Club Villas, Boardwalk, and topping out the list with almost a quarter of the votes, Copper Creek over at Wilderness Lodge. And that's our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next Monday with another edition of the DVC Show. Have a great week, folks.